Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. You can tell I'm already excited for this one because we are featuring a team with Trapinch today. It also has a unique restricted duo in Lunala and Calyrex-Ice Rider. This team was sent in to me by a player called Nathan who included a really kind note. Nathan's actually been playing VGC for over a decade now, and actually got top 8 of the World Championships way back in 2012, which is crazy to me in the juniors division. I actually got top 8 in seniors way back then, and so it always makes me really happy to see players still competing, to this day from that era. And so huge thank you to Nathan for submitting a really fun team. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to Labatos, check out the timestamps linked in the description below. I can't remember the last time I even featured Trapinch or went up against it on this channel, really at all, and so I'm especially excited for this one. If you're watching this the day that the video came out, this is also the final day for Series 12 on the ranked ladder, and so the rule set will be switching over to a completely new rule set in the subsequent days that involves, allowing mythical Pokemon and unlimited legendaries, and so it's going to be pure chaos. I'm still going to make fun content around Series 13, but it'll be a nice change of pace. I think it's going to be, really chaotic. I'm a little bit scared, a little bit excited, a little bit of both, but it'll be fun. I wanted to end Series 12 with a bang, though, hence why, I wanted to feature Trapinch. So let's talk about the team. So when talking about this team, we of course have to start with the star, which is Trapinch here, right? And so Trapinch is used for a couple of reasons. First of all, its ability Arena Trap is really valuable when paired with Calyrex-Ice Rider. So Arena Trap, as you can see here, prevents adjacent foes from choosing to switch unless they are airborne. And so that's really valuable because one of the fundamental problems of Calyrex in this format is you often have to maximize your turns of Trick Room, and you have to predict whether or not your opponent is going to stay in, right? For example, if you Glacial Lance and they just switch into an Incineroar, that can stall out a whole turn of Trick Room, and even worse, if you max Hailstorm into an Incineroar switch in, that can be really bad. But if you max Quake into something, right, predicting Incineroar to switch in and they don't end up switching out, you can lose a lot of momentum as well. So the value of Trapinch is twofold. First of all, traps your opponents in, so Calyrex can, doesn't need to rely on making as many predictions. And you can also go for Rock Tomb onto Calyrex to activate Weakness Policy onto it, right? So I think that's pretty cool. You not only self-activate Weakness Policy, you also slow yourself down, and so you can allow Calyrex to outspeed opposing Calyrex under Trick Room, and anything around that base speed range that's just slightly lower in min speed as well, which I think is really cool, right? The other cool thing about Trapinch is that it has Feint. A lot of players will deal with Calyrex by essentially protecting and max guarding and, stalling out the couple of turns of Dynamax, but what Trapinch does a really good job of is clicking Feint into a lot of those non-Dynamax Pokemon, and just ensuring that you can chain knockout after knockout. Calyrex is a Pokemon that has immense snowball potential, and Trapinch gets there, allows it to, snowball even faster thanks to Arena Trap and thanks to Feint. And you've also got Earthquake here, which is actually pretty sizable damage onto things like Incineroar and Regieleki. And so, that's really the main reason you want to use it. Trapping in general in VGC is just a unique, ability or unique concept, and I got the Tail has always been one of my all-time favorite Pokemon, and so it's cool to be able to have another Pokemon that can actually trap things in. So that's the idea behind Trapinch and Calyrex. This is a very Trick Room centric game, so you want to focus very heavily on setting up Trick Room, and so the idea is you can go with something like Lunala plus Amoonguss, Incineroar plus the Lunala, or Amoonguss plus Calyrex, Incineroar plus Calyrex. Those are your best 4 leads, I would say, to get Trick Room up. And so the idea is you have the eject button here on Incineroar. And so with the eject button, as you can see, it's actually a very offensive Incineroar max attack admin as well. But it means that you can lead something like Incineroar plus Lunala, fake out something. If your opponent attacks the Incineroar, it just gets switched out immediately. Then you can go into Calyrex and just sweep with Lunala and Calyrex under Trick Room. Lunala here is pretty standard, but the one thing I'll call out is that it actually has the Wide Guard rather than Protect. Wide Guard is really handy because it helps you a lot into Pokemon like Calyrex Shadow Rider and Kyogre, right? And so the value of Wide Guard is that you can actually feel really safe against opposing Calyrexes, especially opposing Calyrex Shadow Rider if they don't Dynamax. And one setup that players will often go for is to, try to nuke the Calyrex with something like spread type attacks, Water Spout, Astral Barrage. This is where Lunala's Wide Guard can be really handy. So to round out the team, you've got Assault Vest Rillaboom here. This is pretty standard. Assault Vest Rillaboom just won the World Championships as well in this format in Masters. And so it's just a really consistent set. That's obviously very good into opposing Kyogres as well as Groudons, especially since a fair amount of Groudon don't carry fire type attacks. And then you've got Amoonguss here. This Amoonguss is max HP and max defense, so it's really designed to be optimized against Pokemon like Zacian, but, even without any special defense investment, you still can take special attacks decently well. The main thing to call out is that it's Mentorb as well as Foul Play, and so the idea is with Mentorb, you don't have to be worried as much about Taunt. Taunt is a pretty big problem for this team because there's 3 Pokemon that, you know, really get value out of its support moves: Lunala with Trick Room, Calyrex with Trick Room, and Amoonguss with, you know, Spore. And so Mentorb is really nice because Whimsicott can be a huge pain for this team, right? Because it can ignore Amoonguss's Rage Powders and just taunt into Calyrex and Lunala. But what Amoonguss can do is like ignore a taunt and then Spore whatever Whimsicott's partner is, for example. And so there's also some other taunt users that you might run into that can be annoying, such as opposing Incineroar and Mimikyu as well. Taunt is really handy for that. Foul Play is always just nice for chip damage into things like Zacian. It's valuable into Groudon, Calyrex Shadow Rider, Lunala, Calyrex-Ice Rider, especially if Calyrex-Ice has its policy activated. And so, yeah. Overall, though, I'd say the main goal is try to get Trick Room up, try to get Calyrex and Trapinch out next to each other, self-activate the policy, and really go from there. But yeah, really excited to end Series 12 here with a really, really unique team. I still have some Series 12 content coming out in the upcoming days and weeks, so I'm not completely done with the format, but of course the ladder is done after today. So thank you so much for watching this, and let's get started with the battles. First game of the day, and we're up against Volcarona, Palkia, Lunala, Tapu, Lele, Whimsicott, and Thundurus. I was actually playing a practice game with this team, and I ended up facing this exact player. And so, yeah, going up against them again. They led Lunala, Palkia with Tapu, Lele, and Volcarona in the back. So, and they had Wide Guard on Lunala, which was a little bit annoying. Lunala in general is kind of tough for our Lunala and Calyrex to break through. But I'm down to just set up Trick Room. So I think in this game we can go with Amoonguss plus Calyrex with Trapinch and Lunala in the back. Basically the idea is turn 1, go for Rage Powder Trick Room. Turn 2, bring in Trapinch if Amoonguss faints. And then just self-Rock Tomb, Dynamax, and go from there. The one thing to watch out for is like potentially Palkia or Lunala reversing Trick Room, but when I fought against them earlier, they actually did not go for that, like a Trick Room reversal at any point. But it's going to be Whimsicott and Palkia. Okay. So I guess my main question here is the item on, or not the item, the moveset on Whimsicott. Like, do you have Taunt or Encore? Because if so, you can deny Calyrex from setting up Trick Room. Lunala is decent into this core. When I fought against them previously, they actually had Max Lightning on the Palkia as well. It's interesting, like, I mean, I'm down to just go for Spore plus Trick Room here, I think. I could just Rage Powder as well. Yeah, I'm still down for Rage Powder Trick Room here. If they have Taunt on Whimsicott, so be it. Not all Whimsicotts carry it. Palkia protects, okay, that's fine. And if they don't have Taunt, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, I think. So I expect to see a Taunt from Whimsicott right now. Yep, okay, they have it. That's fine. So next turn is interesting. Like, I could just Dynamax Calyrex immediately, Max Hailstorm. I'm not completely opposed to switching out into Lunala either. They could, you know, Dynamax Palkia, Max Wormwind from this position. Taunt into Amoonguss. I've got Mentorb here, so I'm actually down to just click Spore and Glacial Lance this turn, I think. I could also Spore and switch into Lunala. I don't hate that either. Yeah, I don't think that's a terrible option. We're gonna switch out. I just really want to get Trapinch and Calyrex-Ice Rider. That's all I ask for. Next to each other. Okay, so Palkia is going to Dynamax here. So we could go for a Max Wormwind onto the Calyrex slot. That's also why I wanted to switch out, because I don't want Calyrex to just eat up like too many attack drops right now. With the Lunala out, I can threaten Trick Room the subsequent turn. But they'll probably try to taunt that slot. Okay, beautiful. They actually taunt into Amoonguss. Perfect. I've got the Mental Orb here, so that's going to get rid of taunt. Cool. And they Max Wormwind. Beautiful. Into the Amoonguss as well. Okay, perfect. So I put Palkia to sleep. That's their Dynamax option. That's already really good. I think now what I can do is... I mean, you would think they're probably going to taunt the Lunala as well, so I could actually just KO Whimsicott outright with Foul Play plus the Foul Play right now, which I'm down for. Yeah, we can Moongeist. Meteor Beam. I don't mind getting the quick special attack boost, actually. Like, you would use Meteor Beam to beat Volcarona and Thundurus in the back, but a +1 Moongeist Beam is already just pretty powerful, so yeah, they're just gonna taunt here as well. No problem. Okay. Palkia takes a turn to sleep. Like, I don't necessarily need Trick Room to win this game, but it's just annoying because if they didn't have Taunt, like, I could have gotten a very easy Trapinch plus Calyrex sweep in this one, but because of Taunt, like, all three of my Pokemon want to use non-attacking moves, right? The one risk in going for Meteor Beam here is I can miss, but I don't even think missing would be the end of the world, truthfully. Okay, let's bring Whimsicott down to Sash. Beautiful. Get the knockout here. I can now switch out a Moongus into Calyrex-Ice Rider. I can also just stay in, because Foul Play is actually decently powerful still. They can bring in Lunala, try to double up on my Lunala. What I could do to respond with that. No, they actually bring out Thundurus. Okay. That works for me. I'm actually not even going to switch out here. Yeah. I mean, switching to Trapinch, I guess, isn't the worst idea. If I were to switch, I could go into Calyrex, but it's the last turn of Dynamax on their end, right? I think I'm actually down to just Foul Play Thundurus, and I'm actually going to split my damage here. The reason for that is because Thundurus in regular form doesn't scare me at all right now. Maybe it has a Dark-type attack like Foul Play, though. Palkia actually moves before it, so it might be indicating Max Guard, as Thundurus flies up, which is more than okay with me. This is where Mentor on the Moongus obviously just saved us, right? So... okay, Foul Play, Dynamax ends, Fly's coming out now. Presumably their final Pokemon is the Lunala. We still have, or Taunt is over here, it's the last turn of Taunt. Yeah, I mean, I'm down to just Protect here. Protect and Moongeist Beam. I'm just trying to figure out how I can position Trapinch and Calyrex in this endgame. Okay. I'm actually down to Protect, switch into Calyrex, Rage Powder, Trick Room next turn, and then just Trapinch into Calyrex. I think we had a safer approach in this game, which was actually just going for Moongeist Beam, Rage Powder this turn onto the Thundurus, but part of why I wanted to use this team was to feature Trapinch and Calyrex, so I'm determined to make it work here. Okay, so we're going to Protect here. Palkia actually takes another turn to sleep. It's just faster than Thundurus, I guess, which is really interesting. Okay, works for me. Yep, it's Trapinch time. We're going to Rage Powder here. Trick Room. Took a lot of setup to get here, but we're finally here. So Rage Powder, Trick Room. Palkia will actually move first, so KO Amoongus, but Thundurus should not have a way to get a one-hit knockout onto Calyrex-Ice Rider. The strongest attack it can have here into us is Foul Play, which wouldn't KO us, would only activate Weakness Policy. So they can go for another Fly, don't really care about that. Once Trapinch comes out, I can just go for Self-Rock Tomb, Glacial Lance, everything. And it should cleanly knock out Thundurus, Palkia, and Lunala in the back. It's a speed tie between them? That's interesting. Okay. Wow. Unless... no, I mean, Palkia could have just been protecting each of the turns, right? Yeah, that would make more sense. They could be alternating between Protect and attacking, yeah. So now we get Trapinch out, and this is finally the setup I was looking for. It took a little bit of time to get here, but the idea is now you can't switch out either of your Pokemon, and I can just go for Self-Rock Tomb onto Calyrex into Glacial Lance. I guess the only problem with this is I could theoretically miss Rock Tomb, thus not activating Weakness Policy on Calyrex, and then we might not KO Palkia, but Palkia shouldn't KO us. Rock Tomb actually does a ton of damage to Calyrex, but that's fine. Beautiful. That activates Weakness Policy. Cool, cool. Glacial Lance now will just get a double knockout. This game was really a one-off Mentor of Amoongus, right? I think it's actually a really critical item because I played so many Taunt Whimsicotts while using this team. So yeah, that's just a double KO. And that's how you can get Calyrex from 0 attack to +4 attack in a single turn. And this is where the Trapinch is really nice, right? The Trap at this point doesn't really matter since we had already built up such a huge advantage, but the idea is that your opponents essentially, at most, they can protect for one turn, right? Then they can offer double protects, but it's really easy to just snowball so quickly with this duo. So Lunala ends up coming out, and we can actually Dynamax Trapinch for fun here. Go for Max Quake onto the Lunala slot, and just Glacial Lance at this point. Either Pokemon can Dynamax, so might as well end it with style and Dynamax Trapinch. Yeah, I think the main thing here is just Palkia's Dynamax was not able to accomplish very much because we were able to get a Spore off onto it. And, of course, we were pretty lucky with the sleep turns there as well. So, I think one thing that's fun about this team is Calyrex-Ice Rider is often even stronger as a non-Dynamax option, right? And so you have flexibility in who you want to Dynamax. But we're going to max the Trapinch to break the Shadow Shield here, get a special defense boost along the way, and actually really solid damage onto a Shadow Shield Lunala. Don't underestimate this Pokemon's attack. And now we get a Glacial Lance plus 4 attack, and Calyrex will deal the finishing blow. So the only thing that could have really threatened Calyrex ultimately is like Lunala outside of Trick Room or Volcarona, but they didn't end up bringing Volcarona, right? And it makes sense. It's not super easy to feel confident bringing Volcarona here. So yeah, it was mainly, I think, having the Mentor on Amoonguss. I think their plays were really solid across the board, but when you run into Mentor Amoonguss, like, that's the difference, right? Mentor Amoonguss can just single-handedly win you a game because it's the difference between Amoonguss being completely useless or Amoonguss getting a Spore, and that is just huge for us here. So, glad we got to Dynamax Trapinch and feature that duo, even though it didn't, like, you know, necessarily, we didn't necessarily need a Trap. Like, Trapinch is just really fun because it can Self-Rock to him, it can go for Feints. Feint wasn't necessary in these endgames, but, you know, if it were something else that would want to protect in front of Calyrex that wasn't a Ghost type, then we could have gone for it. So, yeah, let's keep things going. Alright, our next game here, and there's a Tyranitar, which is really cool, as well as Calyrex, Regieleki, Kyogre, and Whimsicott. It's a very hyper-offensive core. This is where Wide Guard on Lunala is really good. I actually really don't like that we're going up against Tyranitar. That's probably one of the scariest Pokemon to face here. And the main reason is because it's actually quite solid into Lunala and Incineroar. But I think in this game, like, what we can do is lead Lunala and Calyrex and essentially Wide Guard plus Trick Room. The Solvis Rillaboom is also amazing here, so I probably want to bring that. I think we probably don't bring Incineroar. I guess I could go Lunala Amoonguss as well. The problem, like, the leads to watch out for here are generally, like, Aleki, Calyrex, Aleki, Kyogre, and Calyrex-Kyogre. All three of those are incredibly, incredibly powerful. I'm kind of down for the Lunala Calyrex lead with Trapinch in the back and Rillaboom. Low-key, Trapinch could be a Dynamax option here once again. I know that sounds crazy, but, like, if Trick Room goes up against this team, generally you win the game, unless you lose way too many resources. What's interesting is they have Gastrodon and Tyranitar. Like, you'll typically see some more offensive options, sometimes like an Indeedee, for example, on those teams. Calyrex is occasionally choice specs on these variants as well. So they're going to go with Calyrex and Regieleki. Okay. So basically the logic here is I have Wide Guard on the Lunala, so turn 1, what I can do is just Wide Guard Trick Room. Now, that can go poorly if, say, they Dynamax Calyrex Shadow Rider here, but most players would Dynamax Regieleki and Max Darkness into Astral Barrage. So I'm down to go for the Wide Guard tech here, because I think if we get Trick Room up here, we should just win the game. It gives us such a huge lead where I could probably Dynamax Trapinch and still win. So let's see. We're going to go for it. A lot of the Regielekis on these teams normally are physical with Assault Vest, and you run, like, Assurance for Max Darkness. You run Bounce for Max Airstream, Dual Electric, but you can be mixed as well, right? Like, you don't necessarily need to run all physical attacks. Electro Web is still really valuable for speed control. Otherwise, it might be Life Orb, right? And with the Life Orb sets, you just threaten a very powerful Max Lightning. So if it's Life Orb, for example, here, theoretically could threaten Calyrex-Ice Rider with a one-hit knockout with Max Lightning immediately. So that's also kind of scary. So, what's it going to be? Yep, Regieleki Dynamax, that's good. I'd rather see Regieleki Dynamax here over Calyrex. And if it clicks Max Darkness here and Calyrex Astral Barrages, we're in really good shape. I suppose it could be Trick Room Imprison here on Calyrex, though, which would give me some problems. Then my counterplay to that would have been Dynamaxing Calyrex on turn 1 and Max Quaking, potentially, into the Regieleki. They actually do just go for Lightning. Okay, on a Calyrex, can we survive? Okay, the answer is yes. So let's see what their Calyrex opts for. Surprised they didn't try to target Lunala, but it might be Specs Calyrex with Astral Barrage, which would make a lot of sense. There's Life Orb. Beautiful. And that's the Wide Guard tech, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, given that we are in phenomenal shape at this point in the game, Tyranitar is still something to watch out for. Honestly, in this position, I'm down to just Moongeist Beam into Calyrex. And switch out into Trapinch. I feel like they wouldn't make that play unless they were Choice Specs Calyrex. Otherwise, that's kind of greedy to ignore Lunala the way they did. And it makes sense for Calyrex to have Choice Specs and then Whimsicott to carry Focus Sash. You know what's awkward, though? I can't actually self-Rock Tomb myself because of how much damage I took in the opening turns. Yeah, I'm down to Moongeist Beam here and actually just Glacial Lance, I think. And we can look towards Dynamaxing Lunala or even Trapinch. Like, I just want to cover for Focus Sash Calyrex here. It's probably not sashed, but, like, I think it's probably spexed. But I'm okay going for this because, like, what, Regieleki maybe gets a knockout onto the Calyrex slot, but then I get a free switch in into Trapinch. Or Rillaboom, both which should win me this game. Like I said, the nature of this matchup is if I get Trick Room up and I don't lose too many resources, I should just win. I could really do a lot of different things and win the game. So they're actually going to Lightning Lunala, which is fine by me. I guess where things get interesting is you can bring in the Gastrodon now, right? Nice job targeting Lunala there because I was tempted to switch into Trapinch. So Gastrodon is the one that we're most worried to see. But Tyranitar here could be interesting as well. Dynamax Rillaboom could win this game, by the way, because it beats Regieleki, it beats Tyranitar, it beats Gastrodon, and they actually just got into Whimsicott. Okay, fine by me. Whimsicott here could have Focus Sash, it could have Encore, but I didn't really go for anything that really allows them to get much off Encore. I'm down to switch Lunala into Trapinch now, and go for Glacial Lance. It could be Charm, but like, neither of these Pokemon actually really threaten Trapinch very much. I'm actually down to max Trapinch again, because like, I don't think I need my Dynamax from any other Pokemon to win. The best route to take here, by the way, is just Dynamax, Calyrex, Hailstorm, Whimsicott, and Moongeist Beam into Regieleki. I think that's a guaranteed win, but I'm trying to feature Trapinch as much as I can. And I think we can win the game with it here as well. So, yep, beautiful. They max guard. And this is the other cool thing with Trapinch, right? If you manage to bring it in, yep, they do indeed have Charm here as well. If you do bring it in on a Protect or a max guard, they're trapped in the next turn, right? So this next turn, Regieleki is just completely useless. We get Glacial Lance off here. Yep, brings Whimsicott down to Focus Sash. Cool. Actually, no, that wasn't Sash. It just survived thanks to Charm. That's cool. We could actually Earthquake with this. Oh, that's so funny. I mean, Regieleki just committed Protect. I guess the only thing is if Earthquake KOs myself, but I think it's kind of funny. I could also just feint into Whimsicott Glacial Lance here. Yeah, I think that's fine. Cool. Trapinch gets the feint. That should KO the Whimsicott. Bye-bye. And even with Charm, it's single target Glacial Lance here. Okay, cool. So that'll be a KO. Brings me down to, we're back to ±1. Kyogre presumably is their final Pokemon, to which we can beat with Rillaboom. So a lot about using a team like this is understanding the dynamic of going up against hyper-offensive teams like our opponents here. It helped that they didn't bring Tyranitar, because actually I was kind of worried to face that. But yep, they're going to bring out Kyogre. Works for me. Okay. So last turn of Trick Room here, we've got Rillaboom in the back. So Rillaboom should always win us the game. So for fun, why don't we just Dynamax the Trapinch again? Why not? Because the Grassy Glide here from Rillaboom will always just win the game anyway, so we could win this game even without Dynamaxing, but it'd be hilarious to just max Trapinch 2 games in a row. I'm also curious to see how much Max Quake does here. So let's go for Quake and High Horsepower. Of course, Kyogre can Protect here, but even if it does, then the next turn I could Max Guard Trapinch, sacrifice Calyrex-Ice Rider, and you know what's also really funny here? Because we have Wide Guard, the Kyogre can't actually really hit Trapinch. I had to have some fun here on the last day of the ranked season. So let's see if they protect. They don't bother going for protect. Okay, I have no idea how much this does, but Max Quake onto Lunala in the last game actually did it. Okay, that did a lot more than I expected. That was like 70%. High horsepower might just KO here. Let's see. Okay. Nice. When I saw this team, I definitely did not expect to Dynamax Trapinch in 2 consecutive games, but, you know, the reality of this matchup, once again, is if we had such a big lead, we could honestly realistically win the game by Dynamaxing anything. Like, if Trick Room just goes up, the game is essentially over. So the one thing I was kind of worried about was, like, Imprison Trick Room, but the thing is, on those teams, it's very commonly, like, a very offensive Calyrex. Choice Specs is really common. My one fear was, yeah, them going for a Trick. Or, yeah, if they actually had Trick Room, like, just using it to reverse. But fortunately, Calyrex, you know, was bulky enough to survive the Life Orb Max Lightning. And it makes sense from my opponent's perspective, right? Because Max Lightning plus Specs Astro Barrage, that's enough to just pick up a double KO and win you the game immediately. So, that, like, you know, it could be a really volatile turn 1, but I felt really confident in my play generally because you're not going to expect Wide Guard most of the time, and it covers for most options. Dynamax Calyrex was something that was a little bit scary as well. Like, if they had Max Calyrex, then, I don't know, like, T-Bolt, Max Phantasm into my Calyrex, like, that's an adjustment my opponent could make in a best of 3 if we were to lead the same thing. But, yeah, Trapinch manages to come out again. We still haven't really actually executed the core strategy, but the reality is in both games we had big enough leads where it actually ended up being a really solid max option. Also, I just can't believe it did 70% to a Kyogre. Like, that's incredible. So, yeah, let's look for another. Okay, Zacian Calyrex with Regieleki, Incineroar, Rillaboom, and Indeedee. So you replace the Calyrex with Kyogre, and it's a team that, you know, I'm pretty used to seeing, but Calyrex Zacian here is interesting. It's an archetype that a couple of high-level players explored this season. Naoto, the 2019 World Champion, got top 8 at Japanese Nationals with that core, and then Aaron Trailer and Wolf Glick brought it to the World Championships as well, but their teams look very different from this. This actually could be a Trapinch Dynamax game again. I know it sounds so crazy, but, okay, what do we want to do? Their Calyrex scares me a lot, especially if it's White Herb. Rillaboom's actually not bad here, but it's really poor in a Calyrex. Spore from Amoonguss is always valuable. Like, I'm not opposed to a Calyrex Amoonguss lead. I mean, I'm committed to bringing Trapinch in all the games today. It's like Amoonguss, Calyrex, Trapinch, Lunala. The only downside is, like, it feels really weird to not bring Incineroar into a Zacian and Calyrex core, but I think there's a decent chance that Calyrex is White Herb, and if it is, the Incineroar is completely useless. Where the value of Trapinch lies is I can self-Rock Tomb to Calyrex, and then I can always outpace their Calyrex under Trick Room. I'm gonna try it out. I don't know if it's the best option to take here, but it's fun, and we're here to have fun. And maybe Dynamax Trapinch. I guess the thing about maxing Trapinch here is that it's very weak into Calyrex-Ice Rider still, so it's probably not the best bet. But I'll never discount it. Rillaboom and Incineroar, okay. That's interesting. Well, they get a quick Intimidate onto me. They have dual Fake Out pressure right now. I cancel out Incineroar Shukaberry with Calyrex. You know, I always have to remind myself that because I've forgotten it so frequently on videos, and part of the reason for that is because I just haven't used, like, the Calyrexes as much throughout the season. Although I've used all the restricteds here and there, it's just, like, it's so easy to forget, I feel like. So if you make that mistake, don't worry, I've made it so many times. Oh, you're Air Balloon as well. Okay. Oh, this is where Trapinch, like, switching in immediately is already amusing to me. I could also pivot out into Lunala. I don't think I need a Trick Room quite yet. I mean, here I'm down to Glacial Lance. I almost want to click Spore here as well to force a Fake Out of them. Yeah, I'm down to Spore and Glacial Lance here. Let's see if they switch. Okay, they don't. It might just be double Fake Out here, which I'm okay with. No, they Flare Blitz. Oh, and a Calyrex. No, into Amoonguss. Okay. I think that's a very favorable trade. I get burnt, but that's okay. Cool. Okay, so I managed to get Spore off. Their back presumably is what? Calyrex plus Zacian. So setting up Trick Room now is fairly easy. The burn is a little bit unfortunate, but it happens. Mainly because now it means I can't actually recover. I'm at -1. I mean, I'm down to just Trick Room here. You know, the other play I'm considering is actually just going for Glacial Lance plus Foul Play here onto Rillaboom. I actually like that a little bit more. Okay, they have knockoff. Doesn't KO Amoonguss though, nice. Okay, Incineroar takes a turn of sleep, wonderful. And in going for Glacial Lance here, I get rid of Shuka Berry as well. Not Shuka Berry, Air Balloon. Mainly curious if the -1 Glacial Lance plus Foul Play can KO Rillaboom, but the answer is yes, which is awesome. Now here's what's... the reason I prioritize knocking out Rillaboom, by the way, is because that's the scariest thing for our Trapinch to deal with. Still such a funny sentence to say here in 2022, but yes, I mean it. Okay, not bad. I'm really pleased about how the first 2 turns have gone, other than eating up a burn there. This team is so fun. It's actually so fun. Calyrex comes out. Okay. So Calyrex coming out here is interesting because I don't necessarily need to set up Trick Room. I did eat up the Intimidate, which is slightly scary, but I can snowball pretty quickly with Trick Room, no? I think I'm still down to set it up. Trick Room. And just protect here. I could Rage Powder because they could Flare Blitz with Incineroar onto Calyrex. Yeah, okay, I'm down for that. And they Dynamax. Okay, that's fine by me. Here's the logic, basically. If they stay asleep here, like, we're going to be in really good shape, right? Because essentially, right now, they've Dynamaxed before I have. Even if they wake up, it's okay, because then they don't get an attack boost on the Calyrex. And basically the logic is then I can bring out Trapinch. Trapinch can trap them in. I can self-Rock Tomb to ensure I outspeed under Trick Room, and then Snowball attack boosts it really quickly. Incineroar does stay asleep. Okay, I actually wouldn't have minded it waking up there. And they go for Max Quake. Smart. Okay. Alright, so it's Trapinch time. This is the setup I was looking for, essentially. Question is, how much can I maximize these next couple of turns of Trick Room? But this is what's really critical, right? Like, I get to self-Rock Tomb, activate my weakness policy immediately, outspeed them. The problem is that they're going to be at +2 attack pretty quickly as well, but I think it's okay. I guess the other interesting thing is I could go into Lunala rather than Trapinch, but I don't mind ensuring Incineroar stays in here so it can't cycle back in for Intimidate. Yeah, because the key thing here is I have an extra turn of Dynamax relative to them. So, like, Rock Tomb gets me to +1, Max Quake brings me to +2. They'll also be at +2, but I'll outspeed them under Trick Room, essentially. Yeah. And then if Zacian is their last one, which it should be, I guess they could have dropped Zacian for Indeedee here. Like, I've been playing this game assuming that the last one is, Zacian thus far. But I think this finally highlights one of the cool things about Trapinch, which is your opponent can't switch Incineroar out and in with very much ease. And that's actually really critical, right? Because Calyrex is, biggest... Not biggest, but one of the biggest threats in this format is essentially Incineroar being able to switch in into Max Hailstorms and also, being able to switch out easily. So we self-Rock Tomb, cool, doesn't miss, activates Policy. Now we guarantee outspeed Calyrex under Trick Room. We already min speed, so worst case it was a 50-50 speed tie, but now I just definitely outspeed them. I wouldn't be surprised if they were a speedier Calyrex on this team comp, but yeah. This just gets me to +1 attack, neutralizes that earlier Intimidate, and then this is what I mean by snowballing. Right now I'm at +2 attack immediately. Okay. The thing is, I really need to win the game under Trick Room, because I think if it gets to a point outside of Trick Room, I will lose, because they are going to snowball really quickly, unless they actually target my Calyrex here rather than Trapinch. But yeah, they just Hailstorm, which is correct. Goodbye, Trapinch. Thank you for your sacrifice. This next turn is interesting because essentially, like, I could make the debate to target Calyrex rather than Zacian with my Calyrex, right? Because I'm at +2 attack right now. They're also at +2 attack, but we have 1 extra turn of Dynamax, and we outspeed them under Trick Room. So essentially, like, I could go for the Meteor Beam plus the Max Quake onto Calyrex, but I think I'm just going to safely target into Zacian here. Yep. I don't want to risk reading into a Protect, doubling up onto Calyrex, and then losing the game off that. Because if I get, actually, I don't even need to Meteor Beam here, right? I can just Moongeist Beam. Meteor Beam might still be better for the special attack boost to deal with their Zacian, though. So I'm going to Max Quake here. Yeah, I'm down to Meteor Beam. Basically, like, we'll get a good amount of damage here, and then another +2 Max Quake should KO Calyrex-Ice Rider. So this is why I prioritized KOing Rillaboom earlier on in this battle, because by KOing Rillaboom, it paves the way. So they do protect Zacian, that's fine. But like I said, I'm not willing to make the prediction this turn, because if I double up onto the Calyrex and Zacian ends up just Behemoth Blading me, I lose the game immediately, so might as well just force them to go for the Protect, right? Yeah, that does still do a hefty amount to them. Okay. I'm mainly curious here if they commit Hailstorm into Lunala. If so, like, I actually expect to survive that, thanks to Shadow Shield and us being max HP. They actually go for Quake. Okay. I actually think Quake is the correct decision there. Onto Lunala. Yeah, because you don't expect to KO anyway, so you might as well get a special attack boost. Okay. Oh, but they're in trouble now, and I'll tell you why. We have Wide Guard on Lunala, and we haven't revealed that thus far. And Calyrex, one of its key weaknesses is that it relies so heavily on Glacial Land. So they could click High Horsepower rather than it next turn to play around it. But we connect on Meteor Beam. Sweet. Okay, are you Weakness Policy? You are. That's okay. Okay. Yeah, so they should actually click High Horsepower here rather than Glacial Lands, to which I could just Max Quake their Calyrex. I don't know if it KOs, though, is my only problem right now. Maybe it was worth reading into. Yeah, the other reason why, by the way, why Quake is the right play for them there is because if they Hailstorm, they don't get a special defense boost, meaning Lunala +1 Moongeist should just KO the Zacian, so then I could just easily Quake plus Moongeist. There's still 2 turns of Trick Room here. You're at +4 attack. Let's see. Does +2 Max Quake KO Calyrex-Ice Rider from that range? That's the main question. And also, do they High Horsepower Glacial Lands here? Do they play around Wide Guard? I think I'm down to Quake here. Plus Wide Guard. Because if they call this turn incorrectly, I just win immediately. Ah, they go for the double, though. Okay, that's really smart. Might still be okay, depending on their move of choice here, but them getting the double might screw me over here, ultimately. Nicely done, though. Good recognition to realize, like, that's what they had to go for in this position, right? I just wasn't sure about my Calyrex calcs there, but if I knew I was going to KO Calyrex-Ice, I don't know if I'd still target it. Like, it's still kind of scary. Let's see if they High Horsepower Glacial Lance here. Nicely done. They played this, like, really perfectly. Kudos to them. Okay. Yeah, unless I'm surviving a +5 High Horsepower at this point with Calyrex, I don't win the game. But they played this, like, truly perfectly, so I can't even be that sad in this endgame. And we don't KO the Zacian either, so, yeah. Maybe I did have to make the prediction then. I thought we would have been fine here, but the Meteor Beam did slightly less than I expected, so... I think the only way they could lose this... No, I mean, they're definitely killing me at this point, so yeah, I'll go for Glacial Lands. Kind of have to. Even if they didn't get the double, I think they might still just win, because then it would just be Calyrex versus my Calyrex in the endgame, and I don't think I'm surviving a +5. And they get a triple Protect off. I could have gone for a High Horsepower crit onto their Calyrex as well. I don't think that... I think a triple Protector is actually a throw, because I could crit onto their Calyrex. But yeah, we don't KO them. Very nicely done. I think the other thing is maybe I didn't even like need to activate the weakness policy here. By activating weakness policy, I made it harder for me in this end game. Yeah, Glacial Lance is just always safer there. So Zacian faints. Yeah, like if I had, I didn't think I needed to read into like the Zacian protecting there, even though it was so obvious. Like I think a lot of players there would say, okay, I'm really far behind in this game, and I'm just gonna lose, but I see a path to winning, which is just KOing your Calyrex if you get greedy and double up onto my Calyrex there. So ran into triple protect. I'm not sure the third one definitely didn't matter at all. They might have not even needed the double. It would have come down to like high horsepower, because the problem is like even if their high horsepower doesn't KO me, I'm not gonna KO them either, right? Part of what I was hoping for was to KO Zacian quicker so we get another attack boost, but they played that endgame perfectly with Calyrex. They didn't get greedy and try to Hailstorm. They went for the special attack boost and, special defense boost. So I really want to quickly calc Max Quake into their Calyrex, because their Calyrex is at 80%-ish, so I was curious if it could get a one-hit knockout from that range. So I'm going to pull up the calc real quick. So if you look at the Max Quake calc here, it indeed does not get a KO onto Calyrex-Ice Rider outside of Dynamax. It does 66 to 78%. So it's a good amount. It may have been able to KO Calyrex-Ice Rider at the range that they were at, because the Meteor Beam did around like 20-ish or so, but I wasn't 100% confident in that, and this calc shows why I wasn't confident in that, right? And so my opponent played really well, I think, just across the entire battle, and so huge props to them. Like, if they get greedy and max Hailstorm there, or click Wide Guard, I think they could be in a much worse position, but the Quake there was really smart, because by Quaking, they essentially give themselves a special defense boost, and then it means that they take less damage from Meteor Beam, right? Because if the Quake, if Meteor Beam just does a little bit more, then I'll have more confidence going for like Max Quake onto the Calyrex and then Moongeist Beam into the Zacian slot, right? But yeah, their Zacian also took the Max Quake decently well through Protect, and if it just took a little bit more damage, then I would have been confident, even still just going for Quake plus Moongeist Beam, but both I figured would hang on with just a sliver of HP, and that was really scary. So I think, you know, the main thing you can point to in this game where I could have improved is the turn of Moongeist went down. I could have switched out, actually. It was just a little bit risky, because I lose to potentially their Incineroar waking up, Flare Blitzing into my Calyrex, and then their Calyrex Max Quaking, and just doubling up to KO my Calyrex. Turns out Incineroar stayed asleep, so if I had actually switched to Moongeist there, I may have won, but Moongeist had already taken some sleep turns there, so I was a little bit nervous to make a play like that. And then in this endgame, when Zacian, you know, protected all 3 times against my Calyrex, it's really that first protect where I could have targeted their Calyrex and just get some chip damage immediately. And I also could have intentionally not activated weakness policy on their end, right? Because by getting them to +4, that was a problem. I wasn't sure if there were going to be weakness policy there, because like I mentioned, a lot of the Calyrexes on these team comps are wider, especially like how, you know, players approached Worlds. A lot of Calyrexes were wider, and so I'm more used to playing against that, weirdly enough, despite policy being such a good item. And so Incineroar maybe could have been a valuable pick for us, where, but Rillaboom was definitely a, must not bring for us, I think, given this matchup. So, yeah. Anyway, though, I mean, huge props to my opponent. I think they played the end game absolutely perfectly. I have no shame in losing to that. And, you know, once again, you can point to the turn where Zacian protected the first time around and be like, oh yeah, like, it's so obvious it's going to protect there. And, like, yes, it's obvious, but if I end up just doubling up onto their Calyrex and the Zacian doesn't protect and Behemoth Blades my Calyrex, I immediately lose the game, right? That risk versus reward just doesn't feel worth it to me, because my opponent still has to play the endgame perfectly in order to win, and of course they were able to accomplish that, but it is a tough position for them to be in, right? And I don't want to just throw the game away potentially off reading into a protect and they just, you know, straight up don't go for it. So, yeah. Anyway, though, it was a real blast to feature the Trapinch team. I can't believe we even Dynamaxed it in 2 different games. That was really, really fun. So huge thank you to Nathan for the team. And thank you to you all as well, always, for watching. I hope you enjoyed all the Series 12 battles. I actually still have some Series 12 content, so even though the ladder is switching to Series 13, you'll still see some Series 12 content in the upcoming weeks. But thank you so much, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day. And until next time, peace.